I'm Lego Riddler Goon. Today is Halloween, so therefore, today is the perfect day to talk about the horror level. Now, technically, I didn't work on the horror level in October. I worked on it in December, but who's counting? Shut up!
The idea behind the level was that it would be a bit of a haunted house type of experience, and I decided to base it off of Lon Lon Ranch from Ocarina of Time. So I made this wooden box texture for me to use on the walls. Once I started using the texture in-game, however, I realized that you can't actually see the textures because of how I was doing the lighting. To fix this, I made a candle thing that emits fire particles, and paired it with a point light. This resulted in a much better looking lighting. After that, I worked on a horse barn area. I wanted to have a well-lit section followed by a section of darkness where two stronger enemies appear inside and subtly jump scare you. Oh yeah, I haven't introduced the enemies yet. While I was initially brainstorming the game, I decided that the electric boss was going to be weak to the ice weapon. Problem was, I couldn't think of a good electric power. I settled on copying the soul body from several Mega Man X games, but what was a good element that would represent that? Answer: holograms. And so to make it an alliteration, I chose an animal that starts with the letter H, and that ended up being a horse. So Hologram Horse was born. That's also why the level was a horse ranch. Not sure why it's haunted. From this, I reckon that every enemy in the level should be a variant of Hologram Horse, so I created 3 horses to show up throughout the level. First was a horse that simply jump scares you and does nothing else. Second was a horse goon.
Well, now you're just stealing my thing.
He can walk up to you and punch you, but he also deals damage on contact, so the punch is mostly useless. It would be better if he punched faster, but nobody cares about goons.
Alright, that's it.
Lastly, and I made this a bit later into development, is the Sonic Horse. He screams, and those discs deal damage. The cloning ability made Hologram Horse feel like Echo Echo from Ben 10, but I thought he would need to be taller, and I wanted to mess around with the audio effects, so I decided to base Hologram Horse off of Ultimate Echo Echo. So he has screaming powers, and so does Sonic Horse. Now back to the level design. The problem with asking players to venture too far into darkness is that they won't know what happens in the level, especially if your game is a platformer, so they might see a light at the end of the tunnel, but turn around if they don't get the light they need. So I decided to make a light follow them. And who better to hold a light than a ghost? So I made a ghost. Wait, no, not like that. I based Ghosty Goo, yes, that's his name, don't wear it out, off the Arbiter's Grounds Poe from Twilight Princess. I just kind of drew a face and spreaded dark splotches along a white cloak and a green hoodie, and then bam, there he is. So now I have a ghost that holds a candle and follows the player wherever they go, at least until they reach a certain point. This ended up with a cool scenario that I could have used for the level design. Platformer game where you have to use light that you can see for a bit to memorize platformers, and then you lose the light as you actually do the platforming. In trying to use that, I realized why it hasn't been done before. See, players can't see how fast they're moving, so I can't do this without some sort of landmark that they have to get to between points. I could do this for some of the final levels, but for the level itself, I just didn't. So what I ended up with was a simple spike pit and a glass maze with spikes along it. The prize for finishing the glass maze is the double shot armor upgrade, but you also need the Big Bang attack if you want to be able to see so you don't die on your way there. After this, there's a big room full of horses, and once you finish that, you kind of really need a reward for doing this, otherwise players will be like, well, what was the point of that? So I made a heart container that appears at the end if you kill every enemy in the barn, or at least the latter half of the barn. There's a lot of empty space to the left of the heart, so I added a dead guy to the top, but you need the Big Bang attack to see him. After that, there's a large open pen area with a bunch of horses inside. Now, what are horses known for? I already did this joke on one of my shorts. I was just going to add a horse to race the player, but then I finished the level and decided against it. And then I later decided to actually add the horse, but I haven't started on him yet. Anyways, yada yada, you ride a motorcycle to race it. I won't get into the code of it, but I made this cool racetrack, and I used stop signs to hold lights that I thought would be good, but once I finished the long stretch, I realized that not only was placing them very hard, but it was also going to cause the game to lag a lot. So I completely deleted them and replaced them with 4 more ghosts. Again, not like that. Also, just before that, I made this cool area where you go down in this spiral area, and there's these arrows that show you where to go. It's real nice. Problem with adding the racehorse is I don't really know what to do with it, because I don't want to kill the players for losing a race to the horse, but I also can't think of what to do if you lose the race to the horse, considering the fact that all the prizes are given through playing, not racing. The last stretch of the racetrack has this tube area, and there's a shortcut if you have the helmet, which you get from Leaky Leopard's level. I added a cutscene to the end of the levels so that I could set up a Ultimate Echo Echo reference. The dialogue's a bit clanky, and it doesn't make much sense for him to be talking in the middle of the level when nobody else does, but hey. Finally, it was playtest time. My brother played the level and thought it was hard to see the path because the background was pitch black, so I created this purple background texture and edited a skybox. Not only does it make it easier to see the path, but I also think it looks significantly better. Now technically I did this last part in October, but I mean, who cares? Let's just talk about it. The boss fight features Hologram Horse having 2 attacks that he can do at the start. Chase you down and then punch you, or scream. If he has less than 3 allies before attacking, then he'll clone himself first, and the allies also just cycle through those 2 attacks. Once he reaches half health, he unlocks another attack and changes some of his old ones. His run punch dash thing is now replaced, where he now dashes 3 times before trying to punch you, which was how he did it on the old one. But now, before he punches you, he also dashes into you and then tries to punch you again. He also has this new attack where he jumps off the stage and causes this giant horse to spawn, which looks cool, I guess. I mentioned that he's weak to the ice weapon. Well, how the ice weapon works is that if you kill an enemy with the ice weapon, then they are replaced with this crystal thing that deals 2 damage upon contact. How Hologram Horse is weak to the ice weapon is that he has invincibility frames when he's hit by most other attacks, but when he's hit by the ice weapon, it ignores any invincibility frames he has. But only the ice crystals, not the ice weapon itself. So you'll want to use his allies to hit him. To be honest, I'm not even sure if you can beat him without the ice weapon.
And there was the horse level. Dang it! I thought that would work. Anyways, tune in next month or week, I guess, when I get started on my tutorial so I can start advertising the game and releasing a demo and all that.